as nonsense. It's full of nonsense. They treat it as if it's full of nonsense. It has no meaning. Asatir al-awwalin. It's full of magic or magical stories that make no sense, that are not logical. So this could be one meaning, mahjura, from hajr, from hadayan, from nonsense. Another meaning, which is the most likely meaning, mahjura means they took it as abandoned. They abandoned the book. They abandoned the Quran. اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. They abandoned it. They didn't treat the Quran as they should, as it was meant to be treated, to be recited, to be memorized, to be practiced, to be implemented, to be lived, to be taken as a manual of life, as a lifestyle. They abandoned the Quran. Of course, this is the second meaning, is the correct meaning, obviously. And when is this conversation happening? When did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa ever say this? He didn't. This supposed claim, or this supposed complaint by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa shakwa, complaint, this is metaphoric. It's figurative. It's what Rasulullah would say on the Day of Judgment. It's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa would say on the Day of Judgment. It hasn't happened, but it will happen on the Day of Judgment, because the verse before that says, يَوْمَ يَعُضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ, on that day in which the oppressor will bite his finger. You know, sometimes when you're so stressed and you're nervous, you bite your finger. The Quran in several places tells us that the oppressors, the sinful, those who commit sins on the Day of Judgment, they will bite their fingers out of remorse, out of regret. And then وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِي. So on that day, on the Day of Judgment, Rasulullah will come and will complain to Allah that my people forsake this, took this Quran, forsaken, they took it for granted. They didn't implement the Quran, they didn't practice the Quran, they didn't read the Quran, they didn't contemplate over the Quran. In a hadith by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, ثلاثة يشكون إلى الله عز وجل. 3 complain to Allah. Which 3? 1, مسجد خراب لا يصلي فيه أهله. 1 is our mosques. A masjid that has been abandoned, has turned into a ruin. No one prays in it. No one prays in it. That mosque on the Day of Judgment will complain. Of course, the hadith doesn't say on the Day of Judgment. It just says 3 complain to Allah. So it could be even in dunya or akhirah. They complain to Allah Azza wa Jal. Our mosques today, because of COVID-19, our mosques are empty because we have no other choice but to stay at home. To avoid the spread of this virus, we have to stay at home. Today we miss our mosques. We wish we could go to our mosques and our Islamic centers. Right now, as I speak to you, it's the month of Ramadan, yet many people are sitting at home. While typically in the month of Ramadan, they would go to the mosque, they would hear a lecture, they would pray jama'ah, they would have iftar together. But many of our mosques around the world now, they're shut. But what about COVID-19? Now we long to go to our mosques. But what about before COVID-19? You go to our mosques and you see them empty. Youth are missing. A lot of people are missing. The mosque is only 1/3 full. 2/3 of the people are not there. Most of the community members don't attend. Now we know the value of our mosques. Now we regret keeping our mosques empty. Fortunately, there are many mosques that are empty. There are communities, they spend a lot of money on the mosque, But when you go to their weekly programs, they're empty. You go for Salatul Jum'ah, it's empty. You go during the month of Ramadan, they're empty. This mosque will complain on the day of judgment, or will complain in general. وَعَالِمٌ بَيْنَ جُهَالٍ, or وَعَالِمٌ ضَاعَ بَيْنَ جُهَالٍ. A scholar that is lost among the ignorant will complain to Allah Azza wa Jal. A scholar who is not taken advantage, his knowledge is not taken advantage of. A scholar whom people don't benefit from. Not because of him, because of people. They don't know his value. They don't know his value. He goes to the mosque is empty. He gives a lecture, no one attends his lectures. He gives people advice, no one takes his advice. A scholar who has knowledge, but people don't benefit from his knowledge because they don't know his value. This person will complain to Allah Azza wa Jal. And 3, وَمُصْحَفٌ مُغْلَقٌ قَدْ وَقَعَ عَلَيْهِ غُبَارٌ لَا يُقْرَأُ فِيهِ. And a copy of the Quran that is closed, that is dusty. There's dust all over it because no one has used it. And no one reads it. I will complain to Allah that I am not read. No one reads me. And another hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This hadith that I recited is by Imam Sadiq and it's narrated in Bihar al-Anwar. Another hadith narrated by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, ثلاثة يشكون الله يوم القيامة. 3 will complain on the day of judgment. Al-Mushaf, the Quran, wal-Masjid, wal-Atra, and the holy household. يقول المصحف يا رب حرفوني ومزقوني. The Quran will say, my Lord, they misinterpreted me. They misused me. حرفوني, they misinterpreted me. ومزقوني, and they ripped me apart. ويقول المسجد, the masjid will say, يا رب عطلوني وضيعوني. The mosque will say, my Lord, they kept me empty. They kept me unused. And they lost me. ضيعوني. They didn't take advantage of me. They didn't use me. وتقول العترة يا رب قتلونا وطردونا وشردونا. And the holy household will say, my Lord, they killed us. And they chased us away. And they let us flee. They ran after us. They persecuted us. إن قومي اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. The Quran is abandoned, my dear friends. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi will complain on the day of judgment that the Quran is abandoned. The Quran is abandoned. How is it abandoned? Let's see, what is our job and responsibility? What is our duty and responsibility towards the Quran for us to know, is it abandoned or not abandoned? Have we fulfilled our duty towards the Quran, or have we not fulfilled our duty towards the Quran? Let's see. The Quran, number 1, tells us to ponder over the Quran. Think over the Quran. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Do they not think and ponder over the Quran? التدبر. التدبر is to think over the Quran. The Quran doesn't just want empty recital. Empty recital. Read and not understand. No. The Quran says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Do they not think and contemplate over the Quran? كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. A book that we have revealed for you, blessed, so that they may. لِيَدَّبَّرُوا. It tells us the reason behind revelation. Why was the Quran revealed? So that people think over the Quran, contemplate over the Quran, try to understand its verses and think over it. You know, when a father or a mother when parents lecture their children, they tell them, think over what I told you. Don't take what I said, don't take it lightly. Think over it. Sleep on it. The Quran wants us to think over its verses. Do we think over the Quran? One of the things that the Quran orders, al-tartil. First, at-tadabbur, to think over the Quran. Two, at-tartil. وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. What does tartil mean? One meaning of tartil is that you recite correctly the words of the Quran, the letters, we recite them correctly. ترتيب الحروف على حقها في تلاوتها والتثبت فيها, according to Shaykh Tusi, that we recite the words carefully. Even the letters, we stop at them, we recite them carefully. This is one. In a hadith by Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, في معناه أنه قال بينه بيانا لا تهذه بينه بيانا. He says tartila means that when you recite it beautifully. Don't recite it quickly like you would recite poetry. ولا تحذه حذ الشعر ولا تنثره النثر الرم. Don't recite it like a speech, nor recite it like poetry. No, recite it beautifully. Stop at every word. This is the word of God. ولكن أقرع به القلوب القاسية ولا يكونن هم أحدكم آخر السورة. Recite it with concentration. Recite it beautifully so that you may touch people's hearts. And don't let it be your goal to reach the end of the chapter. ولا يكونن هم أحدكم آخر السورة. You just want to finish the chapter and reach the end. That should not be your goal. Another meaning of tartil, Imam Sadiq says, قال إذا مررت بآية فيها ذكر الجنة فاسأل الله الجنة. Tartil is that if you come across heaven in the Quran, say, oh Allah, grant me heaven. وإذا مررت بآية فيها ذكر النار فتعوذ بالله من النار. And if you come across hellfire in the Quran, the mentioning of hellfire, say, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from hellfire. This is two. Another thing the Quran orders us to do, let's see, are we fulfilling these duties and obligations towards the Quran or not? Three, al-istima', to listen to the Quran. The Quran says, when the Quran is recited, listen to it. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. When the Quran is being recited, listen to it. Listen to it. Don't just hear it. This is one of the rights of the Quran. If it's ever recited on TV, on the radio, you go to a majlis, before a majlis, at a funeral, if the Quran is recited, don't speak. That's disrespectful to the Quran. Imagine if your parents are talking to you and you speak to a friend, or you're texting on the phone. How disrespectful is that? When the Quran is being recited, that means Allah is speaking to us. That's what it means. We have to listen. Listen. فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. Some say, فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ, listen to the verses of the Quran. During Salah, if you're praying Jama'ah, listen to the Imam. Some say no. In Salah and outside of Salah. Whenever the Quran is being recited, listen to it. This is a practice that unfortunately no one practices, especially at funerals. When we go to a funeral and the Quran is being recited, we're busy in chit-chat. We chat with our friends, with our neighbor, whoever's sitting besides us, and we don't listen to the Quran. We disrespect the Quran. One of the things that the Quran asks us is tilawa. وَأَنْ أَتْلُوَ الْقُرْآنَ الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابَ يَتْلُونَهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ. Those who we've given them the Quran, they perform tilawa. They, to the best of their ability, حق تلاوته. They do justice to the tilawah of the Quran. أولئك يؤمنون به. Those are the ones who believe in the Quran. Those who perform tilawah. What is tilawah? Tilawah could be to recite. One meaning of tilawah is that they recite the Quran. They recite it beautifully. They recite it correctly by observing the laws of recitation. Two, another meaning of tilawah is that they follow the Quran. Recital is not enough. Recitation is not enough. You recite it and you observe it. You observe the Quran. You practice the Quran. You implement the Quran. Because what good is a recital that is not implemented and practiced? حق تلاوته الذين آتيناهم الكتاب يتلونه حق تلاوته. They do justice to the tilawah of the Quran. Isn't just recital by the tongue, a verbal recitation, but an implementation of the Quran. We recite and we implement the Quran. حق تلاوته. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam tells us, explains to us the meaning of يتلونه حق تلاوته. They do justice to the tilawah of the Quran. When they do tilawah, they do it to the fullest. Is it just recital? Some think that at-tilawah is just to recite the Quran. Recite the Quran correctly by observing the laws of grammar, Arabic grammar. That's tilawah. No. Look at what Imam Sadiq says. This hadith is so important. It's so important. If we were all to write it down and translate it to English and implement it every day and look over this hadith all the time. What is the meaning of حق تلاوته? Imam Sadiq answers. He says, يرتلون آياته. يرتلون آياته. They recite the Quran beautifully. ويتفهمون معانيه. يتفهم. They try to understand the meanings of the Quran. They don't recite something that which they don't know, that which they don't understand. So they make an effort. See, he doesn't say يفهم معانيه, يتفهم. يتفهم means that he makes an effort or she makes an effort to understand the words of the Quran. Maybe you don't speak Arabic. You're not a native from Iraq or any of the Arabic countries, but you make an effort. You go, and today there's translations everywhere, in English, in Farsi, in Urdu, in French, in German, in every language. The Quran has been translated to almost every language in the world. Make an effort. Read the translation. Sometimes the translation is not enough. Arabic speaking people, they understand Arabic, but do they understand the Quran? 80% of people who read the Quran, they might understand some verses, but they don't understand the Quran fully. There are expressions and words in the Quran that even native Arabic speaking people still need a translator, someone to explain to them the Quran. يتفهمون معاني. They make an effort to understand the Quran. ويعملون بأحكامه. And they act upon the laws of the Quran. ويرجون وعده. When the Quran makes a promise, they are hopeful of the promise of the Quran. If the Quran promises those who pray, those who fast, those who are patient, it promises them of heaven, they are hopeful of that promise. وَيَخْشَوْنَ عَذَابَهُ. They are fearful of the punishments mentioned in the Quran. وَيَمْتَثِلُونَ قِصَصَهُ. The stories mentioned in the Quran, they try to implement those stories. Practice the stories themselves. وَيَعْتَبِرُونَ أَمْثَالَهُ. They take the examples of the Quran and the parables and the lessons set by the Quran. They يَعْتَبِرُونَ أَمْثَالَهُ. They take them into consideration. They try to understand these parables and implement them. وَيَأْتُونَ أَوَامِرَهُ. They obey the commands of the Quran. وَيَجْتَنِبُونَ نَوَاهِهِ. And they refrain from what is forbidden in the Quran. ما هو والله بحفظ آياته. He goes back to explaining what tilawa is. He says tilawa is not just memorizing the verses of the Quran. وسرد حروفه, and just to recite. وتلاوة سوره, and to recite its chapters. ودرس أعشاره وأخماسه, and to read the verses. حفظوا حروفه وأضاعوا حدوده. Some memorized the words of the Quran, but they lost its meaning. They didn't implement the Quran. They memorized the words, but the overall spirit of the Quran, they crushed it. They didn't implement, nor did they practice, nor did they observe, nor did they respect the overall spirit of the Quran. إنما هو تدبر آياته. التلاوة, surely it is to think over its verses. تدبر آياته, to think, and to contemplate. There is no greater worship in Islam than to think, than to contemplate. تفكر ساعة خير من عبادة 70 سنة 1000 سنة. There's so many narrations. To think for a certain amount of time. Sa'a doesn't necessarily mean 60 minutes. Because at the time of Imam Sadiq, an hour was not 60 minutes. Sa'a means a period of time. To sit and think. To sit and contemplate over this life, over this creation, over your purpose in life, what your purpose is. Just to think. Islam encourages us to think. Islam is the religion of thinking and pondering and analyzing, critically thinking. Not just to any sort of thinking, to critically think and to assess and to analyze. This is what Islam calls for. لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. Allah wants us to think over the verses of the Quran and to analyze the verses of the Quran, to contemplate over them. Not just to recite, but to think over them. Live with the Quran. To live with the Quran. Keep the Quran in your mind and in your heart, and to think over it and to try to practice it. كتاب أنزل, and then he recited يقول الله تعالى كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك ليدبروا آياته. My dear friends, my dear viewers, we're in the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan is the month of the Quran. It's the month where we care for the Quran the most, where we return the Quran. 11 months out of the year, the Quran is abandoned. We rarely open the Quran. We rarely think over it. We don't even recite it, let alone anything else. We're in the month of the Quran. The Quran is not an ordinary book. Some of you have libraries in your homes, even if it's a small library, a couple of bookshelves. And you might have a copy of the Quran. The Quran is different from all other books that you might have in your library. What's the difference? The difference is that choose any book that you have from your library. It's the product of the intellectual output of the time that it was authored. Let me give you an example. If you have, for example, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, this novel in English literature. It's a masterpiece in English literature. But it resembles, it represents the intellectual standard of that time. Take a book on physics, take a book on math. It resembles and it represents the intellectual stage of the time. After a while, that book might become outdated. A book on physics, 50 years from now, it will be outdated. Yes, you might read the book to see how scholars of physics thought at the time, what they achieved at the time. But it's essentially outdated. Take a book on science, take a book on math, on anything. It represents the intellectual output of the time, and then after a while it will become outdated. Except the Quran. The Quran never becomes outdated. The Quran can never, it can never be said about the Quran that the Quran resembles the intellectual output, or it represents a specific era, a specific time in history. But now the Quran is no longer applicable. The Quran is now outdated. It's not for our time. You could say this about all other books. Math, you could say this book is no longer applicable now. Science, this book is no longer applicable now. It was good for a certain period of time. It was good for those people at that time, but not for our generation. Except the Quran. The Quran is meant to be implemented in every generation, in every time. The Quran is meant to be a cure for social problems, economic problems, all of our problems in every time and in every place. The Quran is applicable for every time and in every place. The Quran is never outdated. Look at this hadith by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. It's a very beautiful hadith. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was asked that why is it that the Quran is never outdated? The Quran, the early Muslims read the Quran, they were influenced, they were affected. 50 years later, the second generation of Muslims came, they read the Quran, they were affected. It guided people. After 100 years, people came and read the Quran, they were influenced and affected, and they were guided. Why is that? Why is it that the Quran doesn't lose its touch? He says, لأن الله تبارك وتعالى لم يجعله لزمان دون زمان. The reason is because Allah did not create the Quran for a specific time period, or for a specific place, or a specific geographical area. For example, the Arabian Peninsula. No. Maybe it was revealed in the Arabian Peninsula. It was revealed 14 centuries ago. But it wasn't meant to be restricted to that area and to that time and place. No. It was meant to be a solution to our social problems, to our spiritual problems. It was meant to be a cure for all times and all places, for all geographical lands, and for all times. لم يجعله لزمان دون زمان ولا لناس دون ناس. And it wasn't meant for a specific group. Yes, it was revealed in Arabia for the Arab, but it wasn't restricted to them. It was revealed amongst them, but it's not restricted to them. It came for everyone. فهو في كل زمان جديد. Thus the Quran, in every time you feel it's new. You feel that it was just revealed. Right now when we read the Quran, we don't feel that it was revealed 14 centuries ago. We feel that Allah just revealed the Quran now and He's speaking to us. When we read the Quran, we feel that the Quran is addressing our problems today. Yes, today, 2021. And we're dealing with COVID-19 and all the problems. When you read the Quran, you see it's as if it's addressing our problems today. With all of our social and economic and political problems around the world, it's as if it was revealed today. It's addressing us. لِكُلِّ زَمَانٍ جَدِيدٍ. The Quran is new in every time. And a hadith by Imam Sadiq, by Imam Al-Rida alayhi salam. He says, لا يخلق على الأزمنة ولا يغث على الألسنة لأنه لم يجعل لزمان دون زمان. The Quran never gets old. The Quran never gets outdated. You can never say the Quran is inapplicable. You can't apply it. Never. The Quran is always applicable. The Quran is always a remedy. It's always a cure. It's always applicable. We can always benefit from it. Why? Because it was never meant to be a temporary solution for a specific group, for a specific tribe, for a specific place, or for a specific time. No, it was a general remedy for all people. بل جعل لم يجعل لزمان دون زمان بل جعل دليل البرهان. Allah brought it for all people, a proof an evidence, a remedy, a cure for all times. وقال الرسول يا رب إن قومي اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. Let us not abandon the Quran, my dear friends. Let Ramadan be a time to renew our allegiance to the Quran. Number one, by reciting. Let not our recital just be in the month of Ramadan. Two, memorization. Unfortunately, we have a lot of shortcomings when it comes to memorizing the Quran. Others memorize the Quran more than us, and they concentrate on memorization more than us. Three, to think over the Quran, to ponder over the Quran. If we dedicate a couple of minutes each day, if not each day, each week, to think over the Quran, to ponder over the Quran. Four, to implement the Quran as governments, as countries, as people, as communities, as local mosques, as families, as individuals. The Quran has something for all of us. As countries, we can benefit from the general teachings of the Quran. As families, the Quran has teachings for families. As individuals, as tribes, as communities, the Quran has something for everyone to take. The Quran addresses all social statuses, countries, tribes, groups, communities, families, even the smallest unit, which is two individuals, a husband and a wife, and single individuals. The Quran has something for all to benefit. Let us not be part of the complaint of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we are part of the nation that abandoned the Quran. Let us be part of the nation that implemented the Quran, the nation that recites the Quran, the nation that implements and practices and thinks over and memorizes and lives the spirit of the Quran. Insha'Allah. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان.
In general, for North America, there's always been Muslims coming here.
There has been a Muslim influence for the past, I don't know, at least 100 years.
Hosseini Center is the first Shia Islamic center here in Chicago.
I just came to Chicago. I came in with $12 in my pocket. That's all I had.
शबीर चला रन में कई रोज का प्यासा है तीरों से हुआ चलनी
Karbala is the home to Imam Hussein alayhi salam as well as Imam Hussein TV. Millions come to Karbala every year and we bring Karbala to millions. Imam Hussein Media Group is a crowd-funded project that does not generate any sales or profits. That's right, we do not make any money or profits but solely rely on your generous donations to help bring you Karbala. Imam Hussein Media Group is looking for flag bearers, donors and supporters to help. We are looking for 1,000 people to donate just £14 a month in honor of the 14 infallibles. With the help of our 1,000 partners, Imam Hussein TV3 can maintain its monthly costs as well as continuing to spread this sacred message. So many of our viewers depend on us in order to learn, understand and connect with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. It is the duty of everyone to facilitate and finance Imam Hussein alayhi salam to enter everyone's home. Become a partner now by going on www.imamhussein3.tv/donate, or alternatively call us or WhatsApp us on +44 939 917 163 or +964 774 067 1837. Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج